G'day people, I'm back again. This time to compare an Auto VR exec with the ED GLI and later the Acclaim with the Futura. Given the success of VR, it's important to capitalise on the opportunities that now exist and prospect Ford buyers and Ford fleets. To do this effectively requires that we have a clear understanding of our advantages over our competition. Let's be very clear on one point. VR is the superior vehicle. However, given the nature of this tape and my admitted bias, you would expect me to say that. As a consequence, this comparison will highlight advantages that can be supported, either with visual comparison, statistical data, or actual road test results from the motoring writers of our three major motoring magazines. Specifically, the August and September issues of Car Australia, Wheels and Motor. You need to be prepared to do the same when dealing with your prospects. I will utilise a 6-position presentation of the VR to highlight just those features that are either exclusive to us or superior to Falcon. And then we'll do a 6-position presentation of the GLI to provide the visual comparison. Let's start therefore at position 1 on the VR exec. The most obvious feature of position 1 is the new 1993 front styling. It will appeal to the buyer who wants everyone to know they're driving a new car, and who doesn't, as well as impacting favourably on used car resale values in several years' time when this will still be a modern style car against a Falcon's then 8-year-old styling. The clear indicator lenses are more stylish and don't pose a colour conflict situation that can happen with Falcon's bulky orange indicators. Under the bonnet we have the start of a safety and quality story that Falcon can't come close to. At the release of VR to the motoring writers, mention was made of Holden's determination to build a car that will be seen as competitive against any brand by any measure the consumer may wish to make. It was also pointed out that GM have the opportunity to show Australian consumers that the import product can be replaced by a local product that will surprise them with the level of sophistication it delivers. VR does achieve this. One area that supports this statement is the general appearance under the bonnet of the VR. Here the immediate impact is one of a quality finish with attention to detail. There are rolled edges on the bonnet that is then supported with substantial bonnet hinges that lock into position when closed to eliminate the risk of the bonnet spearing through the windscreen in the event of a front-end collision. All wiring is either concealed or neatly directed to its designated spot. The serpentine belt provides convenience, neatness and practicality. From a safety point of view, the V6 engine is mounted well back in the engine bay, providing approximately double the crumple zone available in Falcon, thus decreasing the risk of injury to the occupants. From both the safety and performance aspect, the location of the motor directly between the suspension towers provides superior handling with no engine weight ahead of the front wheels. This provides better control under normal driving conditions, but is also more forgiving in emergency swerve out of trouble situations with possibly inexperienced or less capable drivers at the wheel. While the engine is slightly smaller in capacity than Falcon, 3.8 litres to their 4 litre, the Commodore is around 120 kilograms lighter. On Falcon, that's about equivalent to carrying 2 adult passengers with you whenever you drive. As a result, September Wheels magazine found that Commodore was 0.3 of a second faster 0 to 100, 0.2 faster over the 400 metres, faster from 60 to 90, and very importantly, faster at overtaking speeds of 80 to 110. At the same time, Commodore returned superior fuel economy with slight advantages based on AS2877, but as Wheels points out, they found a much larger disparity, with both Falcons in their test consistently using 2 litres per 100 k's more than the Commodore. Wheels also tested interior noise levels and found the exec to be quieter than Falcon at idle, steady 60k and steady 110k speeds. Okay, let's see what we have to offer at position 2. Two major differences are apparent at position 2. Firstly, we have 15-inch wheels with 205/65 tyres compared with 195/75 tyres on 14-inch wheels on the Falcon. The bigger wheels and wider, lower profile tyres contribute to improved steering control, more stable, safer cornering, better straight line comfort and increased tyre life. Secondly, and completing the front-end handling story, is our improved suspension setup, offering camber adjustment, a feature that is unavailable on Falcon. Motoring riders' comments on VR include such statements as corners with precision and accuracy, or the steering is nicely weighted and reassuringly direct. These compare with comments made about Falcon, such as overall a much sloppier car, or as Wheels puts it, a sloppy chassis and wallowy ride. Position 2 is also a good place to point out several areas of substantial quality difference. Note the standard of finish on things like the radio aerial surround, and on the door rubbers and weather seals. While these may seem small points, they take on added significance when compared with the very poor quality finish on the Falcon that I'll show you shortly. Notice also the substantial door pulls and armrests and the full-length door bins. These are all areas of supremacy over Falcon. We also offer a safety and security advantage at this position, but again, I'll point that out later on the Falcon. Let's move now to position 3. Before we enter the car at position 3, let's acknowledge that we will soon be able to offer our customers the 1FF option of independent rear suspension on exec, something that is still a dream for Ford sales consultants. From a safety point of view, Ford make a big deal about their strengthened A and B pillars, but say nothing about the roof strength above the spot where children would be sitting in the rear seat. Commodore offers an additional strengthening rib just here, immediately above the rear seat passengers. Inside the car, we offer the convenience and safety of a centre split rear seat. When in use, it still provides comfortable seating for 2 rear seat passengers, including 2 good-sized adults. The armrest allows for a play area for children on long runs and keeps them apart to minimise distractions to the driver from cranky, uncomfortable kids. Very importantly, any items placed through the opening are located between the driver and the passenger to eliminate injury in the event of a sudden stop or front-end collision. This configuration also allows for vertical steel support around the opening in the boot, giving greater body strength to the rear of the car, minimising the risk of items in the boot penetrating into the cabin in an accident. In the boot at position 4, an obvious and important advantage is the depth of the boot. This case will easily stand up in the boot. This is surely an important consideration for any reps who carry reasonable amounts of luggage. The finish in the boot is again up to the imported car standard that GM have set as a benchmark and is certainly superior to Falcon. The vertically mounted spare wheel provides greater usable space and convenience, and the substantial strength in the boot lid itself is an important consideration in energy absorption in the event of a rear-end collision. The overall styling is again 1993 in appearance and is easily identified as a new car from the rear, certainly something that cannot be said of the Falcon. Around the corner at position 5, there are again a couple of things worthy of mention. One is the overall modern and aerodynamic styling that is very obvious from this angle. The other is less dramatic, but nevertheless extremely important in again highlighting Holden's commitment to quality. Believe it or not, I'm referring to the petrol filler cap, a remotely operated and flush-fitting component that not only offers convenience and security, but adds to the overall style of the vehicle. The story does not stop there, however. When you open the lid, like that, you find that Holden does not subscribe to the out-of-sight, out-of-mind philosophy obvious on parts of the Falcon. You'll see what I mean by this in a minute when we check out this component on the GLI. Before we get into the car at position 6, we acknowledge that our rolling security code key is not only superior to Falcon's smart lock, it is in fact superior to any system currently in use in Australia, an industry first. Coupled with the remote is the body computer functions on exec that provide the smart dome lamp for increased personal security. The body computer also provides the automatic headlights off function, again a feature the Ford cannot match. Inside the car we offer several advantages or exclusives, apart from the door bins and remote petrol release mentioned earlier. We also offer a tachometer as standard. This is set in a modern flowing dash incorporating the side airflow vents into the doors to create an all-round cockpit appeal. The electric mirrors are controlled from a conveniently placed and easily operated button on the armrest and includes a neutral position to prevent accidental adjustment. Rubber, non-slip, non-rattle mats are provided in the centre dash opening. The handbrake is centrally mounted for convenience and safety, and the centre armrest storage bin incorporates provision for cassettes. In addition to the physical advantages just covered, Holden also offers on executive a 24-hour roadside service and a 100,000k powertrain warranty. Ford have not yet made either of these available on Falcon GLI. Okay, let's now move to position 1 on the Falcon, and I'll provide you with some of those visual comparisons I promised. At position 1 on the Falcon, we find the same basic body styling that was introduced 5 years ago. In fact, all pressed body panels are the same as they were when EA was released in 1988. The points I made about new car and resale value are as obvious as the orange indicators. Under the bonnet, we get the first hint of Ford's lack of attention to detail and lack of commitment to quality. I have a question for you, and I'll ask it several times during this presentation. The question is this: will a manufacturer who is committed to building a quality product do this? Here are some examples of what I mean. Note the finish on the bonnet. The edges are clamped together and spot welded. Note the single pin bonnet hinges and compare them with the multi-lever configuration on the VR. Note the wiring that just seems to run out of control and in many cases is simply held together with tape. Note the drip tray on this power steering pump. That would indicate they can't stop it dripping, but by heck they'll make it drip where they want it to. Note the windscreen washer tube that just hangs out of the bonnet. Note all the holes in the engine bay body panels that just don't do anything. Note the lack of space from the front of the car to the front of the engine, and contemplate what would happen in a severe front-ender. Note the amount of engine that hangs in front of the wheels, and consider the dynamics that take place when an engine that is travelling forward gets a message from wheels behind it. They want to turn left, and at the same time the vehicle weight is thrown onto the right-hand wheel. Is it any wonder the motoring writers describe the handling as sloppy? My personal experience would indicate that erratic or unpredictable are even better words. Again, I ask the question, would a manufacturer who is committed to building a quality product do this? Would you expect a person who has been buying imported cars to settle for this level of quality? Personally, I doubt it, but I'm equally confident that there would be no problems with VR. At position 2, the wheel and tyre sizes are obvious, so let's look at the quality points I indicated we would cover. Note the plastic plug that covers the hole in the mudguard where the aerial comes through. It just lifts out and leaves you with a lockdown aerial that is no longer locked down and is now vulnerable to vandalism. Mind you, they don't limit this feature to GLIs. They also offer this right up to the Fairlane. Note the weather strip on the roof. It's simply pressed onto the roof lip. It does, however, cover the sticky tape that helps fill the gap where the windscreen and roof lip don't quite meet. Note how the door rubbers are fitted. Little plastic prestos. I bet you won't find this feature on an imported car. Consider the quality question again. Inside the car, we note the absence of door bins, the fact that the armrests leave you nowhere to rest your hand, and the door pull is awkward and set well back. Ford have made a big deal about the effectiveness of their smart lock system, yet it offers no deadlock facility. So at worst, if somebody breaks a window and trips a door handle, all doors are open. If you want to be more subtle, you prise the door open from the top and a straight stick will achieve the same end result. If you're high-tech as well as subtle, then you simply use a code recording device and open the car that way. Falcon does not offer rolling code security. From a safety point of view, there was one real concern with the smart lock system. Mum picks up young Johnny from school. He jumps in the car and Mum locks all the doors. All is well unless Johnny pulls the door handle, because this unlocks and opens the door in one action. Nasty, eh? This could also happen on the rear door, so on a Falcon it is critical that parents activate the child-proof locks. On the Commodore, opening a locked door is a two-step process, and the door handle in the front is located ahead of the door pull, not integrated into it as with the Falcon. Let's modify the question. Would a manufacturer who is committed to building a secure, or safe vehicle do this. At position 3 on the Falcon we find their petrol filler cap. This provides us with yet another opportunity to ask that quality question. We note that the Falcon still has a manual finger pull lid, and inside we have the filler tube sticking out of a grade hole in the body. I personally find it difficult to believe that in 1993 Ford could have a car leave their factory with this standard of finish. You'll remember that I pointed out at this position on the Commodore the additional roof strengthening rib. You'll note that Falcon offers no such protection for their rear seat occupants. We also have the opportunity here to consider the inconvenience and risks associated with a 60-40 split rear seat in a large car. Firstly, with the 40 down, you can still seat 2 passengers as long as they're not large adults. You can seat 2 children as long as you're not travelling too far. They'll soon become uncomfortable, cranky and ultimately distracting to the driver. Importantly, whatever is placed through the 40 split is located directly behind the front seat passenger. And if it's heavy, it could become a deadly missile in a sudden stop situation. With the 60 down, the same risks are now appropriate to the driver, but you're now limited to one only rear seat passenger. The risk continues even when both seats are up, as there is always a chance that in a sudden stop situation, any heavy items in the boot could still punch through the seat backs that are now fixed only on each end. The 60-40 split also means there is no steel barrier between the boot and the passenger compartment, and therefore no vertical steel support to add strength to the rear end of the Falcon. You'll also note that the rear lap sash belt on the Falcon shows up as a bolt-on bump on the parcel shelf, not an integrated unit as on the Commodore. This is the same suitcase I had earlier, and it just won't stand up in the boot of the Falcon. When you start laying cases down, you lose space and increase inconvenience associated with moving one case to get at another. Falcons still have exposed metal panels in their boot that can result in dents in the body panel if heavy items slide sideways. The rear wheel is floor mounted and a real pain if you get a flat tyre when the boot's full. The bootlet itself offers none of the energy absorbing strength that the Commodore provides, and this is an important safety feature in the event of a rear end collision. From the rear, it would take a real Ford fanatic to identify this as the latest model. Ford themselves describe the change as a minor paint change, rear applique. The profile at position 5 confirms what was said earlier about this being a 1988 design compared with the 1993 Commodore. Here at position 6 we can confirm the points we made re the Commodore advantages. Note, no door bins, no tacho, a 5-year-old dash layout. The electric mirror adjustment is fitted to a bolt-on plastic fitting that's almost out of reach, difficult to operate and with no neutral position. No mats in the dash openings, and a great hole as a centre storage bin with a lid held up with a plastic strip. And, straight out of automotive history, an under-dash handbrake. Make sure your prospects aren't fooled by the Falcon's dash reference to climate control on the air conditioning. It isn't. It's a manual system the same as ours. To indicate how ridiculous this graphic is, it even appears on non-air conditioned cars. Okay, that's VR exec versus ED-GLI. You may consider some of the points to be nitpicking, but they do indicate the degree of non-commitment on Ford's part to the quality safety aspects so seriously addressed by GM. I am not advocating that you bag Falcon when talking to prospects. This is a training tape, not a selling situation. When you bag a product, you lose some credibility yourself. The purpose of this tape is to alert you to the fact that we do have substantial advantages over Falcon, and we should ensure that we promote those advantages when presenting the Commodore. In order to do that effectively, we as sales consultants need to understand the negative aspects on the Ford. Sales consultants have said to me in the past, however, this is all well and good, but in the final analysis it just gets down to bottom line. If the Falcon's cheaper, they'll buy Falcon. That statement carries with it an acceptance that in the customer's perception, both cars are fundamentally equal in terms of features, quality and safety. and that they are comparing apples with apples. Under these circumstances, they may well make a decision on price. We need to ensure that our prospects understand that they are not comparing equal cars and that our car is superior and does represent better value for money. Let's face it, if customers only made decisions on price and not on value, then both Ford and ourselves would only run base model cars. If value was not part of the equation, we'd never sell a Calais. The reason a person will buy a Calais over an exec should be the same reason a person will buy a Commodore over a Falcon. The value justifies the additional money. The current price difference of around just $100 should pose no problems to us. And if Ford were to start throwing bonuses at their dealers, it should be just one more piece of evidence that we do have the superior vehicle and that even Ford acknowledge that they have to discount their car in an attempt to be competitive. It is part of our responsibility to ensure we educate our prospects sufficiently well enough for them to arrive at this conclusion for themselves. Okay then, let's now compare Acclaim with Futura. Everything we've covered so far regarding the safety and quality advantages that exec offers over GLI remains the same when we're comparing Acclaim with Futura. Let's be very clear about something here though. A Futura is not a direct competitor to Acclaim. The Acclaim stands alone as a package that currently cannot be matched by any other manufacturer or importer in Australia today at anything near the price. Ford currently cannot match our independent rear suspension or airbag at any price. Our direct competitor to an air-conditioned Futura is an executive with a 1EE pack. After all, Futura is only a GLI with slightly upmarket specifications. With the 1EE package, we match virtually all the Futura features and then offer the additional advantages of 15-inch wheels and tyres, rolling security codes and door deadlocks, smart dome lamp and auto-off headlamps, 24-hour roadside service and a 100,000k powertrain warranty, all in a 1993 car with a deeper boot. And we're cheaper. In fact, substantially so if we're up against a non-metallic paint Futura. Having said that, it's nevertheless important to acknowledge that Ford will attempt to convince our prospects that Futura is an Acclaim, but that their car is around $1,500 cheaper. The purpose of this video, therefore, is to provide some information for when Ford force us into a direct comparison. Let's firstly recognise that all three motoring magazines have taken Ford up on this challenge and compared Futura with Acclaim. All three were unanimous in their conclusion that for the extra outlay, Acclaim represented far better value for money. This was not the conclusion of some single, possibly biased writer. It was all three magazines. The real story when presenting Acclaim is not so much in the individual features, but rather in the integrated package. However, to do this requires a skill to firstly present the individual features and then tie them into the package. I'll again use the 6-position format to highlight the features on Acclaim that are exclusive to us or superior to Falcon. Along with all the advantages discussed earlier, Acclaim offers a Bosch anti-lock braking system with the expensive componentry mounted high and rearward on the suspension tower, out of the way from damage in minor accident situations. The previously mentioned 15-inch wheels with wider, lower profile tyres are again an advantage over Futura that still runs the same wheels and tyres as GLI. Acclaim offers true body-coloured mirrors, not the half-and-half version we'll see on Futura in a minute. Inside we offer real door map pockets, and if that sounds strange, again you'll understand what I mean when we look at the Futura. Here we get to talk about our exclusive independent rear suspension that offers exceptional road holding and increased comfort and safety levels. Bill Tuckey in September Car Australia magazine described this as a beautifully balanced car with lovely steering. He went on to add, it is utterly forgiving on virtually any surface. Lumpy corners, rough edges, bad drops, nothing disturbs this car's utter calm. Quite a difference from the sloppy chassis and wallowy ride comments directed at the GLI, and Futura runs the GLI suspension. There are no specific Acclaim advantages at positions 4 and 5, but keep in mind though the executive advantages that carry over. The obvious major advantage here is the airbag that Ford cannot match and whose sales consultants will have difficulty convincing customers is not a valuable feature. Refer to the safety video for more information on the airbag, because if you sell this feature, you just eliminate a Futura from the prospect's shopping list. Let's now have a look at the Futura and compare their features. Futura does offer ABS, and for all intents and purposes it performs about the same as our system. What is a major disadvantage for the Ford is the location of the componentry. All the gear that we have mounted on the suspension towers is located on the Futura directly behind the left-hand headlight. Highly vulnerable in the event of reasonably minor front-end vingles. If you're talking to fleets that cover their own insurance, this factor becomes significant. Here are the two-tone body-coloured mirrors I mentioned earlier. Subject to the colour of the car, this configuration can look almost ridiculous. On a white car, you could swear you're looking at Mickey Mouse in negative. Inside here, we have the items that Ford refer to as door map pockets. We obviously have a different definition than them. Again, we come to the petrol filler cap, and note that on the Futura it is remote release. However, with their usual lack of attention to detail, Ford have continued to use the finger pull cover, so it lacks the flush-fitting finish of the Acclaim. As with Acclaim, the Futura is pretty much GLI when it comes to positions 4 and 5. At position 6, Futura offers an 8-speaker audio system, and sure enough, if you count them, there's 4 speakers. The Futura speakers do have tweeters, but the sound still only emanates from 4 points. Well, briefly, that's Acclaim and Futura. As I suggested earlier, I believe the secret in selling Acclaim lies in selling the total package. As a package, it is undoubtedly one of the safest and best value cars currently available in Australia, or even, as the motoring writers would suggest, in the world. The final point when selling Acclaim against Futura would have to be resale. I know it's crystal balling, but it would be possible to accept that Acclaim could bring more than the $1,500 difference at trade-in time. In a couple of years' time, airbags will be common in new cars, but still hard to find on the used car market. Certainly a supply and demand situation that will work in Acclaim's favour. Conversely, the Futura will be a car with a 1-year lifespan before being dramatically superseded by a totally new model. It could be possible to enjoy the safety and comfort of an Acclaim and make money doing it. Thanks for investing your time watching this video. I trust you have received value for your investment. Have fun selling, and I'll see you soon.